Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of Peep Peep's Corner. And in this episode, I wanted to talk to you about uh, gigging and practicing on a budget. And I'm reaching out specifically to the uh, the Line 6 community or the Line 6 owners out there. If you have a Pod HD or a Pod HD 500X, like I have here, all the way down to even the XT Lives. If you still have one of those, then I wanted to talk to you about how you can still get a great sound out of your pod, and if you have a Variax or just a standard guitar, if you plug that into your pod, how you can gig on a budget and still get a really good sound. So let me address the purists out there, and for those who don't know what a purist is somebody who believes that you should have your guitar, a cable, an amp, plug the guitar directly into the amp, and get your tone that way. I totally agree with you guys. I think that's a great way to get a tone. I do that here, as a matter of fact. I've got a couple of amps sitting here that I plug directly into every so often. Um, where I disagree with the purists is I do love technology. And when technology and art blend in a certain way, in a good way, I gravitate towards that. And that's what Line 6 has done with their Variax guitars, with their Pod HDs, and with their modeling amps, the DT line. So let's talk about that real quick. I do own a DT, and what Line 6 refers to as their dream rig is the James Tyler Variax guitar plugged into a Pod HD, plugged into a DT amp, whether it's a DT50 or a DT25, either one of those. I happen to own the DT50 2x12, and that is my Line 6 Dream Rig, and I love it. Sounds great. I can get any tone I'm looking for. For those musicians out there, and this is what this video is put together for, the video is for musicians who own a Variax or a guitar, any kind of guitar, mainly who own the Pod HD 500 and want to be able to go out and gig, but can't necessarily afford a DT50 or even a Variax guitar, but still want to be able to go out and use the power of the Pod HD 500X, which is right here, and take that out either for practices or gigs, spending the least amount of money possible. What this particular technology gives you is the ability to have 28 different guitars, different tones at the step of a foot switch. And with the pod in the mix, you have all kinds of different amplifiers modeled, reverbs, stomp pedals, compressors, pitch shifters, all kinds of good stuff. There's all kinds of great stuff in here. It allows you to have such a variety of tones that if you sit down and do a little work with it, spend a little time with it, you can find great tones. So when you're actually going out and gigging, you can, have something close to a Pat Benatar sound if you're playing in a typical cover band, you can have something close to a Judas Priest tone or, things like that. And that's all you need. I mean, it's a cover band after all. You're not moving to LA to record a record. You're playing in a cover band in a bar. Great stuff. Great equipment. So let's talk about how we can get a great tone, great tones, actually, and still do it on a budget. And that's who I'm reaching out to here. Somebody who's got the Pod HD 500X. Doesn't matter what guitar you have, but can't necessarily afford the Line 6 amplifiers and is looking for a way to do it. So what I've done, and I've seen a couple videos out there of guys doing this particular thing, plugging the Pod HD directly into a PA system, which is what I've done here. Now, I'm a particular fan of the dual tones that are available in the Pod HD 500X, which means that, for those who don't know, the Pod HD 500X and the Pod HD 500 can actually process two different signals. You can tell it, I want this amplifier going out the left, and I want this amplifier going out the right, and all these effects going out the left, and all these effects going out the right. And then you take your XLR cables, like I've got plugged in here. You run your XLR cables to two different PA monitors. In particular, what I'm using, and what I found gives me a pretty good tone, is these Altos. These are the Alto TS110s, and I've got a couple of SM57s miking them up right now. I'm going to record the guitar playing in a little while, and I'll sync it up and post later. But just so you don't have to hear the guitar through the little microphone here for the camera, and you can get a better idea of what it sounds like. But then I also want you to be able to listen to the left and right channels and hear the difference, and hear how you can blend two different guitar tones and come up with some pretty cool tones to use live. And each one of these is 600 watts. Right now, their volume is set just a little less than halfway. And I've got the master volume on the Pod HD 500X set just a little over halfway, actually. And so I'm going to sit down, I'm going to play some tones for you, play some guitar for you, and give you an example of what's possible by using two PA speakers, which together cost, I think they ran me about $300 altogether, maybe a little bit more, compared to using the DT50, which actually runs somewhere around, I think they're going for $1,200 or $1,400 right now. So, gigging and jamming, practicing, whatever, on a budget. And that's what this is going to be about. So let me sit down and play a couple tones for you, and we'll see how this goes. See what you think about it. Okay, so the first tone I've got set up here is a clean Strat kind of tone. And again, the cool thing with this technology, with the Pod HD and HD 500X and the Variax guitar, I don't even have to touch the modeling knob on the guitar. The Pod HD 500X will tell the Variax, as long as you connected VDI, which is the Variax cable, which goes into the pod, it will tell the guitar which particular model to dial up at the step of a foot switch. I don't even have to touch it anymore. And alternate tunings as well, and we'll get into that in a minute. But so here's just the plain old clean Strat sound. The guitar itself is Strat on the second position, which is using the bridge and the middle pickup of Strat. And I've got two different modeled amplifiers, and you'll hear that when I get into the mix. Okay, so the second tone is again, it's this is modeling a semi-hollow guitar, which would be like your Gibson 335s or 355s. On one side, I've got a clean Fender type sound coming out of a Fender, twin kind of sound. And then on the other side, I'm actually pushing like a PhD motorway amp, which is kind of a bit of a dirtier kind of amplifier. And blending the two together, you get something like this. Okay, talking about the Pod HD500X controlling the Variax. The Variax actually has some acoustic models in it that are actually very, very well modeled. Um, and they sound the best actually coming through a PA. A lot of players who own the Pod HD500X will run their distorted or crunchy type tones or the electric guitar tones to an amplifier, and they'll run their acoustic tones out directly to the PA. And because the PA's got a nice flat response, that's what you look for when you're looking for a good acoustic amplifier. I've got a couple acoustic tones here, or a few acoustic tones here that I want to play for you, and just so you can get an idea of what they sound like coming through these particular Alto TS110s. So let me just play a couple of notes for you. This first one here is a model of a dreadnought type guitar, 6-string. So here we go. Here's a dreadnought 12-string model guitar. And here's a parlor type guitar. It's actually, they kind of look like dreadnoughts a little bit. Think they're smaller type, scale type acoustic guitars. But here's something you might recognize. All right, so here's a jumbo model. I'm actually going to go with the jumbo 12-string model. I particularly love the sound of this model guitar in the Variax. And again, this is all kind of stuff that's really low volume at this point. I'm not cranking anything. If I was to actually crank these up, they push 600 watts each. So you can definitely get over any kind of drummer you want to get over. So this is my, right now, practice rig, and this is what I'll be using to go to band auditions with, when I start auditioning for bands and things like that around town. So there you have it, gigging and practicing on a budget. The Pod HD 500X has got phenomenal tones in it. If you have the luxury to be able to own a Variax to go along with it, then pretty much your tones are limitless as far as I would be concerned. You can get pretty much any tone you're looking for. And coming out of these, and I don't want to say cheapy, but fairly affordable PA speakers, you can get a really good tone for your live performances, for taking to practice. They're a lot lighter than hauling around a DT50 amp, and they'll for sure be able to recreate the sound that you're looking for because they've got a flat response. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention, and I didn't mention this at the beginning when I was talking about the setup of these. I did mention that the volume was set just a little below halfway, but there's also a contour button in the back of each one of these, and I've got that turned off. I don't have them doing any kind of equalization at all. The contour would basically give you a mid scoop, and you don't necessarily want that. You want them to give you the flattest response possible, so you can recreate the tones coming out of your pod and your Variax or your guitar as accurately as possible. So there you have it, gigging on a budget. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. Any comments or questions, just go ahead and stick them below on the YouTube channel, and I'll get to them as quick as I can, I promise that. Until next time, everybody have a great week. Cheers.